Have you ever had that strange feeling of doing everything right, working longer hours, earning more, maybe even getting a promotion, and yet looking at your finances and thinking, why doesn't anything seem to really change? It's uncomfortable to admit, I know. Because in theory, more money should bring relief, security, freedom. But in practice, for many people, it only brings a more sophisticated version of the same old financial strain. Have you ever experienced this? Perhaps you recognize yourself in this scenario. Your salary increases, your income improves, but along with that come new commitments, new bills, new pressures. Your standard of living rises slightly, the stress doesn't decrease, and that feeling of always being on the run continues. It's almost as if the money never quite gets to the point of truly working in your favor. And then comes the silent thought, which few people dare to say aloud. Could the problem be me? Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. There's a very strong myth in personal finance that earning more solves everything, as if the next raise, the next bonus, or the next opportunity will finally unlock your life. But this myth hides an uncomfortable truth. Many people remain trapped not because they lack the means to pay rent, but because they repeat automatic decisions when their money starts to increase. And the most curious thing is that this mistake is not usually made by those who don't care about the future, but precisely by those who are trying to do things right, by those who want to build wealth, security, and real stability. This is the kind of error that doesn't show up in spreadsheets, doesn't scream, doesn't give any prior warning. It accumulates silently while you feel you're making progress, until you realize you're in the same place, only with bigger numbers. That's why so many people work harder than ever, earn more than before, and yet still live with a feeling of financial stagnation. It seems contradictory, but it's more common than you imagine. And that's where a concept that almost no one explains clearly comes in. There's an invisible point in the financial journey where the game changes, a moment when continuing to think the same way becomes the biggest risk. Before that point, the rules seem simple: earn, pay bills, adjust your standard of living. After it, the decisions become more uncomfortable, less obvious, and for many, even frightening. It's as if there's a door separating those who merely improve their income from those who truly begin to build long-term wealth. This door has no sign, makes no sound when it appears, and doesn't open by itself. Most people don't even notice it when they pass by. And that's precisely where they make the silent mistake that keeps everything stuck. Some sense that there's something more, but can't identify what it is. Others completely ignore it and continue on autopilot, believing they are progressing. What few understand is that this door marks the entrance to another level of the financial game, a level that many avoid crossing. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject because understanding where this mistake originates and how it connects to the so-called shark gate completely changes the way you view money, decisions, and financial freedom. And while we're talking about this silent discomfort, let me tell you something very directly, almost like a conversation between friends. If at any point you've thought, this is exactly how I feel, but I never knew how to explain it, don't keep it to yourself. If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below about what has touched you the most so far. It could be a frustration, a doubt, or even that feeling of being trapped even while doing everything right. When you write, you're not just talking to me. You're talking to other people who are going through the exact same phase and still feel alone. And take this opportunity to like this video. It seems simple, but this gesture tells the algorithm that this type of conversation matters, that it's worthwhile to deliver this content to more people who are trying to understand money, decisions, and wealth building without empty promises. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people with this type of message, people who may never have heard anyone put this problem into words. If you feel this topic resonates with your reality, consider subscribing to the channel, not as a favor, but as a clear sign that you want to continue exploring this game more consciously, understanding the rules that almost no one explains. This channel exists precisely to deepen these conversations, go beyond the obvious, and talk about the behind-the-scenes aspects of the financial decisions that truly shape the future. And the more you comment, like, and subscribe, the more this space becomes a real community of people trying to break free from autopilot and see money more clearly. Now, I want to delve deeper into this with you, because understanding why this mistake happens is just the beginning. And from here, things start to become even more revealing. When you look closely, it becomes clear why raising the rent alone doesn't unlock the game. The money comes in like more powerful fuel, but the steering wheel keeps pointing in the same direction. Most people never stop to reflect on this, because the initial feeling of earning more is real, almost euphoric. There's a momentary relief, a sense of progress, as if the journey has finally gained momentum. But this feeling lasts only a short time, very little. What usually happens next follows an almost automatic pattern. More money starts to make room for more commitment, a slightly higher performance seems acceptable, an upgrade in lifestyle sounds deserved. Some decisions are justified by the simple notion of now I can. Without realizing it, the person doesn't change phases in the financial game. Only the scale of the numbers changes. The squeeze continues, only with larger figures and heavier consequences. And then comes the pressure, not only financial, but mental. The mind begins to carry the weight of maintaining a standard that depends on that constant flow of income, with no margin for error. This is the point where many people enter a silent survival mode disguised as success. On the outside, everything seems to be going well. Inside, there's constant fatigue, an anxiety that can't be explained solely by the bills. The hidden truth is that the problem was never the salary itself, but the lack of direction when it increases. Income, by itself, doesn't decide anything. It only amplifies the impact of the choices that were already being made before. If decisions remain reactive, short-sighted, or based solely on comfort, the result also remains stuck in the short term. This is where the invisible separation begins between those who spend their lives putting out fires and those who start thinking about building wealth. In survival mode, money serves to alleviate the present. At the beginning of wealth building, it starts to be used to protect the future. This change is not external. It happens in mindset. It's a silent, almost imperceptible transformation, but with a profound impact over time. The same people, with similar incomes, can be on completely different journeys, simply because they make different decisions. When their money increases, the curious thing is that nobody teaches this clearly. The inner workings of the financial game are rarely explained. There's a lot of talk about earning more, but little about what to do after you earn more. And in this void of guidance, people follow what seems logical in the short term, without realizing that they are reinforcing a recurring cycle. More income means more obligations. More obligations mean more pressure, and the feeling of being trapped intensifies, even with a seemingly better bank account. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because understanding why income doesn't change the game is only the first step. There's a specific moment when mindset needs to change along with the numbers, and that's precisely where many people freeze without realizing it, missing decisions that could completely alter the course of their financial journey. If this resonated with you, comment below. This makes sense to me. There's a delicate moment in this journey when the silent mistake begins to reveal itself, although almost no one notices. It emerges precisely when money ceases to be scarce, when income increases, and the person feels they can finally breathe a little easier. That's when the most common trap occurs. Continuing to think small with a lot of money. Decisions change in value, but not in logic. Extra money begins to be treated as a natural extension of lifestyle, not as a strategic tool capable of altering the entire course of history. This is the point where the hidden truth begins to assert itself. Instead of provoking transformation, the increase in income only amplifies old behaviors. Immediate comfort takes priority. The relief of the present speaks louder, and the feeling of "I deserve it" mixes with decisions that seem harmless in isolation, but together build a new kind of prison. The curious thing is that all this happens while, outwardly, the person seems fine. Earning well creates a false sense of security, an impression that there is still time to think about the future later. This is precisely where the metaphor of the shark gate comes in. This isn't a magic portal or a specific number in a bank account. It's a mental point, almost invisible, where the game changes. On one side of the door, money serves to sustain comfortable and predictable choices. On the other, it demands uncomfortable, less obvious decisions that don't always generate immediate approval. Most people get close to this door, feel the discomfort, and retreat. Not because they can't cross it, but because crossing it requires abandoning the old logic. The shark gate is frightening because it exposes an internal conflict. On one hand, there's the desire for emotional security in the present. On the other, there's the conscious construction of something greater, which only reveals itself over time. Those who don't change their mindset at this moment continue playing the same game as before, only with bigger chips. And the impact of this is profound. The pressure increases, the fear of losing grows, and financial freedom always seems a few steps ahead, never attainable. This mistake has nothing to do with a lack of intelligence or discipline. It stems from the absence of an internal shift. Thinking small with big money means maintaining short-term decisions in a scenario that already demands a long-term vision. It's treating income as a reward when it should be leverage. And, without realizing it, the person becomes a hostage to their own initial success, trapped in a pattern that consumes energy, time, and peace of mind. The behind-the-scenes aspects of this process are rarely discussed because they touch on identity, ego, and deep-seated beliefs. Admitting that earning more didn't solve everything is uncomfortable. Admitting that perhaps it's necessary to give up certain choices to move forward is even more so. But it's precisely at this point that the journey truly begins to diverge. Some continue accumulating income without direction. Others accept the discomfort and begin to see money as an instrument for building, not just for consumption. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because crossing that threshold, or not, defines much more than just numbers. It defines the types of decisions you start making, how you perceive risk, time, and freedom, and the impact this has throughout your entire financial journey. If this resonated with you, write in the comments, "I'm on this journey too." When someone crosses the shark gate, something subtle yet profound begins to change. It's not a change visible to an outsider. There's no external symbol, no radically different lifestyle, or any obvious sign of immediate success. What changes first is the way of thinking. The mindset stops seeking quick validation and starts seeking long-term coherence. It's almost as if the person begins to see money in another dimension, less emotional and more strategic. Those who cross that threshold understand that wealth isn't built on impulse, but with a margin of time, a margin of error, a margin of decision. Instead of using every increase in income to fill the present, they begin to preserve space for the future. This means saying no to choices that would grant status now, but exact a high price later. And this is one of the most difficult revelations of this process. Many correct decisions don't seem like intelligent decisions in the short term. They don't impress, they don't generate applause, and sometimes they don't even make sense to those who are still on the other side of the door. There is also a different relationship with time. Those who think about survival try to speed everything up because they feel they are always behind schedule. Those who begin to build wealth start to respect time as an ally. They understand that certain decisions only show their impact after years, and that forcing immediate results often leads to dangerous shortcuts. This perspective completely changes the journey because it reduces anxiety and increases clarity. The focus shifts from "how much can I earn now?" to "what does this build over time?" Another key point is how leverage is viewed, not as blind risk-taking or gambling, but as a conscious tool. Those who cross the shark gate don't seek to be aggressive. They seek to be intentional. They assess context, scenario, impact, and consequences. They prefer quiet and sustainable moves to flashy decisions. This creates a curious sensation. From the outside, it seems like nothing is happening. From the inside, the foundation is being carefully built. This transformation doesn't happen all at once. It emerges gradually as decisions begin to be filtered through different questions. Does this increase my freedom or just my comfort? Does this buy time or just momentary pleasure? These are simple questions, but they completely change the course of choices. And the more these questions become part of the routine, the more the observer begins to see themselves on the other side of the door, even while still walking towards it. The behind-the-scenes aspects of this change are rarely shown because they aren't glamorous. They involve quiet discipline, patience, and often giving up something that seemed deserved. But that's precisely what makes the difference over time. It's not about doing more. It's about making better decisions. It's not about speed. It's about direction. The impact of this vision accumulates, even when no one is watching. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because understanding how these people think is only part of the story. There's a first, almost invisible practical adjustment that marks the real beginning of this transformation and completely changes how money starts working for you. If this sparked something in you, comment, "This makes sense to me." There comes a moment when everything starts to reorganize itself, and it doesn't come with complex formulas, sophisticated charts, or outlandish investments. The real turnaround begins in a much simpler way, and that's precisely why many people ignore it. The first practical adjustment to escape the trap isn't about making more money, but about deciding something different when that money arrives. It's at this point that the mindset truly begins to transform. For a long time, extra income has often been used as anesthesia, an immediate relief for the present, a way to compensate for effort, fatigue, and the feeling of being behind. A raise becomes comfort, a bonus becomes an expense, time off becomes a new commitment. All of this seems harmless in isolation, but behind the scenes, it reinforces the same pattern that keeps the person trapped. The hidden truth is that as long as each increase in income is used only to improve the present, the future remains exactly the same. The adjustment begins when this logic is reversed, when a portion of the increase ceases to serve the present and starts to be directed towards buying future freedom. Not freedom in the abstract sense, but practical freedom. More margin, less dependence, more time, less pressure. This decision changes the impact of money on the journey. It ceases to be an emotional reward and becomes a strategic tool. Small in appearance, this change has a powerful cumulative effect. The curious thing is that this adjustment almost never impresses. It doesn't generate an eye-opening or immediate feeling of success. Often, it even seems like a step backward because it requires holding back the impulse to celebrate short-term gains. But that's exactly what puts a person ahead of the majority. While many continue to react to money, a select few begin to direct it. And this difference over time creates a silent chasm between those who are constantly running and those who build something solid. This first step doesn't solve everything, nor should it. It only changes direction. It's the beginning of a more conscious journey, where decisions are made based on impact, not emotion. From there, the game begins to reveal layers that were previously invisible. Choices that protect the future, moves that create options, decisions that seem slow, but build consistency. Understanding this mistake already changes the starting point, and changing the starting point changes the entire path. Many people believe that building wealth requires genius or extreme aggressiveness. In practice, what matters most is intentionality. It's about clearly deciding that each step forward will not be used to fill emotional voids, but to strengthen the foundation. This awareness changes the relationship with money and gradually also changes the way one perceives risk, time, and opportunity. The journey ceases to be reactive and becomes one of construction. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject because this initial adjustment opens doors to even more revealing decisions, those that almost no one discusses, but which define who truly understands the money game and who merely participates in it without realizing it. If this resonated with you, write in the comments, "I'm on this journey too." If you've made it this far, it's because some part of this conversation has truly stayed with you until the end, and that in itself says a lot. If this content has helped you see money with a little more clarity, it's worth subscribing to the channel, not as an automatic gesture, but as a way to continue this exchange, to keep exploring decisions, mindset, and wealth building in a more honest and conscious way. If you'd like, you can also leave a comment saying that you stayed until the end. You can write something simple, like, "This message was for me," or "I'm with you until the end." I read them all, and that helps keep this space alive, with people who really want to break out of autopilot and understand the game behind the numbers. And if at any point you felt that connection, leave a like on the video. It's a silent way of saying that this conversation resonated with you, and of helping this content reach other people who are on the exact same journey. There's a video over here that complements this topic, and delves even deeper into these decisions that almost no one explains. Click there and continue reading.